Page 10, The Happy Farmer. This is a very famous piece. I think about every piano student around plays this sooner or later. It's a tricky piece too. It's almost an advanced piece. It's that tricky in places. I want to start out talking about the right hand here. Let's just go nice and slow on this. At the beginning, the right hand gets the accompaniment. So the right hand has to be softer than the left hand. But you have these chords. Try and get the notes down at the same time. You notice on the second set of chords, they have two sets of fingerings. It's an alternate fingering. Which one do you like? It's up to you what you do. The reason you can do a 1, 2, 4 here is because it puts you in position for the next chord. You're not moving your hand at all. Here you're moving a little bit. So, I think the 1, 2, 4 is a great idea. Now, you get down to the last note on page 10 in the right hand. Now it's melody. That C is melody. It's a pickup to what's coming on page 11. Watch the fingering here carefully. I'll come back to this measure in a minute. And if you go 2 lines down on the first, it's the same thing. I want to talk about this mess that's going on here in a minute. When I get back, do the left hand, then we'll talk about it. So let's skip this for right now. At the top of page 9, the pickup to the second measure, the C. There's a with a little circle. Okay, that's their method of indicating a footnote. Different publishers use different methods. Some use asterisks, some might have a number or something in it, some whatever. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see a footnote with an A. It's labeled that. And they're simply telling you that in the original, this measure had more notes in it. They had some C's in it. So instead of here, put the C here. It's a little more difficult. If you're getting this and you're fine with it, put the C's in. Add them in. It's no problem. Not going to miss them if you don't, but it's just something to think about. Let's look at the last measure of the first line there on page 11. Your pickup is here. You're going to hold the F down as you play the eighth notes. Those are accompaniment. And then suddenly you got to move up and put your third finger on the A. This is a nice, happy, bouncy little thing, so we can get away with this. May have to practice that a little bit. Go slow. Just remember the melody comes out. It's got to be louder than the other stuff. Then at the last note there in that measure, there's a B with a circle above it. That's pointing to another footnote. If you look down at the bottom, you see the original had more notes in it. Therefore, measure 12. So it's here. In this arrangement, it's just eighth notes there. I'm looking at measure 12. That's the first measure of the second line. But if you look at the bottom, you see it had more notes. If you're fine with it, add them in. Just remember to play the melody louder than the other notes. So if you're going to add in those notes here, play the top note louder. It's okay if you leave them out for now. Now in that measure on the C, you see a 3-4 fingering. Play with the third and then substitute the fourth. Doesn't matter if you go over it and here or under it in here. What is important is you substitute it. You figure out how you're comfortable doing it. Get the fourth on there. It's unnecessary. You don't have to substitute at all, because the third play you can use 1 and 2 to play the chords. So I don't see any real point in having a finger substitution there. The second 2 lines on page 11 work pretty much the same as the first 2 lines on page 11. It's a little bit different at the very end, but shouldn't be a problem as far as the right hand goes. Let's talk about left hand. Go back to the top of page 10. On left hand, this is the melody. This is what we want to hear. That type of thing, where the right hand is just doing its thing, you're just happy. We want to hear the melody, and it should be a happy thing. You don't have to play it that fast. Play it at your speed, where you can play it correctly and accurately, whatever that is. It doesn't matter if it's real slow. We're going to take it super slow in this video. Real slow. Need to talk about some trickiness going on here on the first measure of the second line. See all these eighth notes in the left hand you have here? They're saying 1-1. Slide the thumb off of the black note on the A. See, we have to slide fingers off black notes to white notes sometimes. It's just the way it is. It's tricky because you have to time it just right, because the A, when you play it, has to be in rhythm. So you have to slide off correctly. And that takes a little practice. If your hand's big enough, you don't have to do that. You can play second finger on the B flat and then a thumb on the A. I like that fingering better. It's safer than sliding a finger off. You get this passage in several places in this piece, so however you finger it here, finger it the same throughout. Now, when you get up to the top of page 11, in the first measure, there's a pickup beat at the bottom of page 10. Now, the right hand has the melody here. The left hand is accompaniment, so the left hand's got to come down. We want to hear the right hand. So this is softer. Now they're saying a 2 at the top of page 11 in the first measure, a 2 on the G. And I'll tell you what, because I sort of like what they've done here. I do this quite a bit in music. Gets a little tricky, so see if you can follow me on this. Haha, challenge. Look at page 11, first line, first measure. Could be third line, first measure, doesn't matter, they're both the same. Take them both hands. You have a B flat in the right hand. You have a G in the left. Then you have these eighth notes. And you see a 1 underneath the C, and you see a 1-2 in parentheses up above, and then you have a partial square brace. It's not finished, but there's a little line pointing at the middle C coming down. Doop, 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 doop. Okay. It is suggesting multiple fingerings here for you. In one fingering, you can do the 2-1 in parentheses. So you're playing the C and the E with 2-1. Or you can play the E with a 2 or a 1, doesn't matter which one. And in the left hand, play the C with the 1. That's why the lines are with a 1 underneath. That means the left hand can play the C with the thumb. You split them up. Now, that may seem really awkward at first and confusing, but I would highly encourage you to work on that, because this type of thing is done quite a bit in piano, and as the music gets more difficult, you're going to need to do it more. Where just because a note is written on one staff doesn't mean that hand has to play it. You split them up however. And that's what they're suggesting you can do. So on measure 9, you can do the first notes fine. And for the 8th note, I'm going to do a 1 in the left hand on the C and a 2 in the right hand on the E. And then we do the next one. And I'm doing a 4 in the right hand. I don't need to slide off. If I'm not playing both of those 8th notes, I don't need to use them. I can do a 5, 3, 4, because all I need is the thumb. at the top of page 11, the first line, second measure. Now you have a slur over it telling you it's a phrase, and then you have the staccatos. You have an accent on the first one and staccatos on the other. And it seems like the slur and the staccatos contradicting each other. In a way they are. What we want to do here is we want to observe the slur, yet play the staccato. So we play a long staccato. See, not all staccatos are the same. Here we're going to play a long staccato. Basically, we're just going to separate the notes. So it's sort of staccato. So it's here. So like so. You get this elsewhere, and this is how you would do it. Okay, just accent the first one, connect it to the second one, and then separate them in both hands. Second line, we're on page 11 for the left hand. Second line, last measure. The measure before it, you're coming off of this. And they're saying using a 5-1 for the last measure. Well, I can't connect that. I can't go here and here and connect it. There is a way, but we won't get into that. So I would recommend, if your hand's big enough, that you use a 5-2 on the B flat G. So you can connect that, because that's melody. And then immediately when you play it, substitute the 1 for it. Because you need the 2 on the next one. We want to hear the melody. That's what we want to hear, and it's got to be connected. There's no pedal here, so you got to have the fingers do it. And it's tricky here. Can you bring out the melody? It's hard to do, but work on it and see if you can work that out somehow. You get it again in the last measure of the piece at the very bottom, same thing. So the only thing I want to point out left as far as the left hand goes is at the very end on page 11, last measure, the last thing is an 8th rest. So the right hand plays that last chord by itself. So the measure. So lift up when the right hand plays that last chord. That's quite a bit on this piece. This is, as I say, this is almost advanced music. You will find numerous recordings of this, so you can see how it goes. You do not need to play it as fast as the professionals do, okay? You can slow it down a little bit. Have some fun with it. We're going to go really, really, really slow, and I'll give you 4.5 counts, and let's begin, because there is an 8th note pickup. It means we're going to come in on the and of 4. It'll be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you play the 8th note on the and. 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay, sort of thing. 1, 2, ready, and go.